Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doom Service on Film Cinematic Universe coming at you very soon. I'm here with John Davis of Conan. Um, Introduce yourself, John.
As you just said, I'm John Davis of Conan. I play guitar and try and sing and tune and write the lyrics mostly. And I've been in the band since, well, I started the band back in 2005, six, whenever it was. Uh, and I've been, I'm the kind of like the founding member, if you want to call me that. But yeah, I'm really glad to be on your interview show. So thank you.
I'm very glad to have you. So, Conan, where did that get started? Like, where was the inspiration for like the name, the band? Um, how did you get what's your origin story?
Well, probably like most bands, actually. I just, been playing been playing music since my late teens, and I've been in and out of several different variations of bands that had started and that had ended, and then I just kind of felt like doing something a bit different, and rather than trying to play like Foo Fighters, Green Day style rock with a bit of Nirvana in there, I thought I'll try and do something a bit different, and I'd just been starting to. I just I had already been listening to bands like Fudge Tunnel and Schematics and High on Fire and bands like Black Sabbath and Trouble and bands like that. And I thought, well, rather than try and convince my bandmates to like try and be that kind of band, why don't I just start writing some stuff myself? And then hopefully I'll attract someone who also likes that music. And my initial um, idea was to just be a two-piece. And then it quickly became obvious it needed to be a three-piece. And then I didn't really like the bass player that we had in. It was a bit weird. And I struggled to get a drummer interested. And I just struggled to get out of the tracks, really, right at the very beginning of things. And I remember sitting in my parents' spare room thinking, what can I do? And I, uh, I've written a few demos with a friend of mine, Richie Grundy, who was no longer in the band. He was just in it for a brief period right at the very beginning. And we'd written some demos, and they were all kind of around the theme of like barbarians and fighting and all that kind of basic stuff. And I thought, well, what could the band be called? What fits with that kind of music? I made a few different names like Here Lies the Body and Demon Demour. I don't know, God Christ knows what that means. And then Elf Beater. And
That's a good one.
yeah, and Pazuzu. These are all just names that never didn't really ever excite me, but I just thought I've got to call it something so we can sort of rehearse with something in mind and have like an identity and that's what writing some early stuff. And then I just thought, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if it was like, what about Conan? I obviously, I guess I was sitting there thinking of what movies would be cool to focus on. And I know that some of our lyrics had already been about like, some scenes in Clash of the Titans or Fire and Ice, about that era of movie making, like 60s, 70s, 80s, stop motion, and Harryhausen style movies. And I thought, yeah, Conan's like a cool sort of image to have. And I just thought, yeah, that'd be a cool name to call the band. And then I checked it out and see. I wanted to see if anyone else was called Conan, in the sort of music that we were playing, and no one was. So I thought, well, okay, we'll take that name and I set up a MySpace page and kind of the rest is history. So yeah, this was all sort of 2005, 2006. So quite a while ago now. It's like, I don't know, 17 years.
Almost, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you guys have been going on for a really, really long time.
I know, but look at all the grey
Getting
hair.
getting at that legendary status. Um, so who inspires you the most as like musically, as far as like what you enjoy to listen to in your spare time? Like who inspires you to keep going or get started? Who inspired you to get started, I guess?
Who inspired me to get started really was just the other bands that I was listening to, and I had like an internal drive to perform on stage. That's what I wanted to do. I never considered myself talented in any way, but I just really wanted to do it. Um, I had like I guess as a youngster, I wanted to play football and never quite suffer, as you would call it. I never quite made it to the level I wanted. And I never was ever going to make that far, but that was always a dream of mine. And around the age of like 14, 15, when I've been listening to metal a little while by then, and I'd had one or two guitar lessons, and I just knew I wanted to play live on stage. I think I just wanted that buzz. And I was like a shy teenager, it seemed like a really cool thing to aspire to. And I've been listening to Nirvana around then, and they had a movie called Live Tonight Sold Out, which was like this like video diary of theirs from they were touring in the early days. And I just really wanted to do like that. I wanted to be in a shitty van, worry about whether I'm going to freeze to death, and not know when my next meal is going to come along. And that to me just felt like how being alive must feel, like being uh, like sort of surviving on your instincts sort of thing. And I wanted to, I wanted to choose music as my path to kind of explore those feelings. I think really a bit, I've inspired myself in all that time. I don't look up to any other, I've never looked at anyone that says, oh, I want to be like him or her. I've always just, in the very early days, I just wanted to play live on stage. And I knew I wasn't going to give up until someone else wanted to eventually it's the band and anyway we went. And along the way, you kind of start listening to other bands and you develop like a network of people who you do respect. And I wouldn't say I ever really wanted to be like anybody else. I think I just all be. I just get inspired by just like the continual sort of cycle of writing, playing live, having something to look forward to, and then something which is like a relatively recent thing. My daughter, Alice, who's 13, has just started taking guitar lessons, and I've been doing it a couple of months now. I go there with her. And she's only learning very basic stuff, and I keep saying to her, you're 13 and you can already do this. I couldn't even. I didn't even really pick up a guitar till I was 15, 16. And she could play better than I could even when I was like 17 or something. And I just said, just keep going because you could do it. And just watching my daughter like look at me for advice on it was like, oh yeah, I can see how much of a blessing it is to be able to play music and tour and be a part of this world. I don't have to have a day job because of what I do in music. It's brilliant. So so lately I've just taken a lot of inspiration from the fact that the sense of wonder that my daughter has, and she's just picking up guitar, and that really makes me feel really nice for her because she's just like stepping into this world of discovery and hopefully feel of some of the awesome experiences that I've had. So that makes me feel really lucky to have done all of that and to be still in the middle of doing all of that. That spurs me on as well.
That must be an amazing feeling to be able to watch the like your child kind of take up that sort of like love for what you do and like kind of take up that mantle a bit and just kind of like be able to appreciate it from like an outside perspective. I can see how that would be like really nice. Um so you once said in a previous interview, I've been following you guys for a while, that working on all of your, like Skyhammer and Black Bow and all of that, like was a what was it? An enjoyable struggle. Do you still feel that way, or has that changed? Has it become more manageable, or do you still like throw yourself into that in so-called enjoyable struggle?
It is definitely an enjoyable struggle. I mean, Skyhammer is no more now. We sold that house.
Oh,
So the
okay.
studio, that wouldn't people know that, so that's cool. We sold that house a few years ago, but that definitely was part of the enjoyable struggle I was talking about at that point. Um, and yeah, I still have those. I still have a couple of business sidelines which are part of an enjoyable struggle. And I'm one of those people who really doesn't cope with not. I don't cope very well when I'm not busy. Like I like to be on the go and have things in mind and little projects to think of and things to stress about. I must be addicted to the, whatever that chemical is in your brain when you kind of you're worried about something. And I'm just one of those people who always has to have something on. And I mean, I've got like a software platform which I'm developing with a team at the moment, which is like a networking management and resource management software platform for the live entertainment industry. Taking
Nice.
some inspiration from Book Your Own Fucking Life. I don't know whether you may not have heard that. I don't know. Magazine that was sort of kept down on the road before the internet took over. And we wanted to sort of remake that and make it like a modern day resource. So that's something that's been going on since lockdown now, like 3 years. So that's a very slow burning project with a team based in America and Europe. So that's kind of replaced Skyhammer in a way. But yeah, I do. I love being busy. Black Bow was a little bit quieter than it was probably when I said that. But nevertheless, I've got some releases coming through at the moment. So yeah, I always like to be. I always like to keep thinking. 'Cause I'm used to being busy. I did HR before I did music. HR and training, both in the public sector and the private sector. So I always have projects and problems to solve, and it's carried itself over. I don't think I cope with just being a guy on a couch with a guitar. I have to sort of get involved in the business side of it as well, which is not always much fun. But,
Pardon me.
but
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little silly on you. Tell me something, or tell us weird something a little bit weird about yourself. What's your like deepest, darkest secret in a way?
God, uh, deepest, darkest secret. Um, do you know, I've not yet been able to answer this question because I've probably got loads of things which would put people off me. So I'm worried about saying deepest, darkest. Uh, I don't know. I'll have to pass on that one. I'm too embarrassed.
That's all right. Okay, so you've been on tour this year, and if I'm not mistaken, you still have some dates left as well. Do you have any favorite tour moments so far, and which city are you excited for most next?
Hey, yeah, yeah. We have toured a lot this year. We've done a US tour and some UK dates and some festivals in the US and Europe and the UK. And we're heading out on a European tour for almost a month next week. On Tuesday, we start off in Czech Republic. Favorite city to play. You know, I'd have to, if I was going to, talking about America, first of all, I love I love being in America. So playing shows in America is even better. I have to think probably Brooklyn, Chicago, yeah, Portland, but then all the others are only just behind the top three, and they're probably all equal in fourth. So it's very hard for me to say. So there'll be the US. In Europe, Berlin is always awesome. Is always an awesome place for us to play. We're playing in Oslo. We sold out that show already. We played in Russia actually in 2018. Before everything went, well, obviously before everything went crazy, and we were lucky enough to get flown out to Moscow and St. Petersburg. And the Moscow show in particular was one of the best shows we've ever played. Um, Tokyo was amazing. Played that sold out venue called Earth Dome, and that had been sold out for about 10 or 12 years apparently.
Oh my
So we
God.
we sold that out, and that was quite an honor. So it's hard. We've been around the block quite a few times, so it's honestly quite difficult for me to say where my favorite place is, because over time, sort of like you just love them all the same. But I just love being on the road. So yeah, it's more the people that I get to see on the road rather than the places nowadays. Because we can make quite a few friends as we've gone around.
Amazing. And I'm going to follow that up with another sort of fun, relaxed question. Your top three deserted island album picks. You're stuck on an island, no one's coming to get you. What are you listening to?
Flooding the Weir by Slamatics. Um, 100 Broken Windows by Idlewild. The latest album by Central C, who people might not think would be an obvious choice for me, but he's like a trap grime artist from London. I don't know if it's trap or grime. I honestly don't know. I just think it sounds awesome. I really love the lyrics, and listen, I'm not part of that world, but I love how real it is, and or how real it seems. I don't know the person well enough to say if it's all genuine or not, but there's just something about the album that's like super cool. I listened to it on repeat more or less the whole way home from New York.
Nice.
It it sounds great through my the big Apple headphones I can get now. It sounds great through them. So it'd be those three albums.
Awesome. I've never heard of the last one, but I'm definitely going to be checking it out now.
Central, like the word central, and then C, which is just C double E. You should check that out if you can. Yeah, I think it's really awesome. I don't know whether, yeah, I think all the songs are very politically, like the way he delivers a lot of it. You think, oh, like it might be like sort of like chauvinistic, but when you listen to when you actually read the lyrics, like, oh, actually, no, he's like his lyrics are really spot on. You know, he's like his lyrics are really nice. The way he delivers them, though, is like pretty harsh and from the street. You know, yeah. I'm really impressed with it. I hope he releases more music because it's that album is super cool.
Awesome. And now I'm going to ask you a really stupid one. If you could be any animal, real or mythical, which animal would you pick?
Uh, I would pick my dog Ollie. He's about a year old, and he's a Shih Tzu crossed with a miniature poodle. And I probably want to just live in our house through and see our house through his eyes and just see how annoying it is for him to keep pooing in my office. If I lived as him for a little while, I'd teach myself to do it in the garden so that he wouldn't just keep doing it on the floor in my office here because it's really annoying. And that's probably the most useful. Like if I was blessed with that particular gift, I think that would be something I would absolutely do. I'd just go into Holly. I'd go into for a month and just learn how to poo in the garden and just hold it in till I open.
Just hold on for a few more seconds there.
Books you, and you don't have to do it in my office. That's honestly, forget dragon or an eagle soaring across the Grand Canyon or anything like that romantic stuff. I just want to be the youngest dog and tell him to go to the toilet in the right spot.
Fair enough. I think most dog owners would be able to sympathize as well. They'd be like, "Yep, yep." I myself have a dog at home, and yeah, he's about a year old also, and he's still learning.
Yeah.
So I could definitely relate and be like, "Okay, yeah, I'd take his cute little smooth brain and tell him to go into the garden instead of on our couch and the floor."
Just understand this isn't for you.
Exactly. All right. So do you have any advice for future or aspiring musicians, industry professionals? Like what would you tell somebody who's getting started if they wanted to know?
I'd say build up a decent network of decent people. Um, in terms of like on the business side of being in a band, I'd get a vehicle and mean tour, you know, as soon as you're ready to get on the road because you'll save a bunch of money by not having to rent vans all the time. So as soon as you can get yourself a vehicle. And I would plow your own furrow. Don't make all of your decisions based on what you think, how you think it might look to other people, because then your career then will be kind of boring. You gotta make a difference, and you'll only do that by looking inside yourself and you're making decisions on stuff. And I learned that early on. I made probably some mistakes here and there, but I'm doing this exactly the way I always wanted to. We manage ourselves, and then whilst that might have some disadvantages, who knows what we could have achieved if we'd had some manager, but we'd have had to give 25% of our earnings away, and that would have sucked too. So it's like try and try and be careful about what decisions you make as you go along, and don't uh, don't worry about just doing, just kind of go at your own pace. That's basically it.
Some sage advice. All right. So the last one that I have for you today is I'm going to flip it on its head now. I like to do this with the people I interview. Is there anything that you'd like to ask the host? Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Uh, yes. Uh, what was your favorite part of Desert Fest New York? Don't say Conan.
Okay. So aside from Conan, obviously, it was super cool to see you guys live for the first time in New York. My favorite part of Desert Fest was probably seeing Monster Magnet play at the end of the first night. Like they were fantastic. They played Power Trip, they played Space Lord. My heart was full. Negasonic Teenage Warhead as well. My heart was absolutely full. And the Melvins playing, especially like two of my favorite songs, Revolve and History of Bad Men. Those two were super cool to see live. I've been following them since I was like 16 years old. Probably one of those bands that influenced me to kind of start doing this sort of thing. So it was like super cool to see them in one of like the biggest kind of like alternative and heavy music scenes outside of like what I know, right? Like
Yeah.
New York is so big and has so much history in the music industry. And it was just super cool to see those two kind of like, and it came like full circle for me because I had been following them for so long. I was just like, oh my God.
It was cool to see someone like the Melvins at a festival like Desert Fest,
Yeah.
because it's not like they've always kind of been like the obvious choice to play an alternative metal fest like that, but they've never really been in the mix. Where people have been talking about headliners. So it surprised me that I hope I'm right in thinking that it's the first time they've ever headlined a Desert Fest, maybe. Uh, but yeah, it was cool. Did you see Boris?
I did catch a little bit of Boris. I ended up catching some of their set, and then I think my friends kind of disappeared, and I tried to find them through the crowd,
Yeah,
so I kind of missed out on some of it, but I definitely did catch it, and it was very enjoyable.
yeah,
um yeah, that was
yeah.
really fun.
But I mean, that day to play on that day was a real honor for us because we're friends at Mantar, like really good friends at Mantar. We toured. Our first ever US tour was with Mantar back in 2015, and then in Samothrace. And then to have Flesh play right after us, we're friends with those guys. And then we've not met before Melvins or Boris, but been listening to them for many years. So it was just like a really nice mix on that day between being hanging out with people we know and being excited about seeing bands that we love and look up to. And it was a really good mix. So yeah, it was super cool.
It was really cool for me as well to be so close to the artists that I listen to so much, like seeing like some guys like walking around and just kind of like chilling out. For me as a kid especially, I was like so into like backstage culture and like groupie culture and stuff like that, so when I saw them I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was a good thing.
Amazing. Well, that's all the time that I have. Unfortunately, I'm being kicked out of the office space, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on Doom Service. I had a lot of fun talking to you. And for those of you watching, this has been Doom Service on Film, the cinematic universe coming at you soon. As always, big thank you to John Davis. And as always, always at your Doom Service, baby.